Okay, good morning. Good morning, friends. Welcome again to the J Talk Morning Show. It's good to be with you once again this week. And I'm your host, Jay Goff. And of course, today we've got an incredible special guest. It's actually the first time I've done this on the J Talk Morning Show, is to have a guest on. And I can't think of a better guest, somebody that would say yes. Because she's obligated to do so. But no,
Not really.
well, that's true. You're not really. Well, thank you for being so kind,
I
though, and saying yes.
choice. Yeah.
You do have a choice. You do have a choice. I sometimes don't have a choice, and because she'll always throw up that ring, say, buddy, remember this? Oh, okay. But anyway,
I guess that works for me too.
I don't know. But anyway, good morning to you. It's great to see you on. Say hi, say good morning. Let us know where you're watching from today. Like I said before, I am just determining to do this at least once a week with you. And if I can get a guest on once in a while, I think it's a lot better. So you don't have to listen to my chops just go at it for 20, 30, I think like almost an hour last time. But we're going to keep that short today, as short as we can. And we're going to talk about resilience in times like these, some of the tools and the importance of that in times like these. And isn't it true that it seems like we always have, quote unquote, times like these? There's always something going on. But times like these, we've got so much going on in the world right now with like we've got so much divided attitudes in our country and around the world. We've got things happening within the U.S., things happening outside of the U.S. that affects us personally here. We have the coronavirus, and all the debates that go back and forth on that with everyone on beliefs and stuff. And so it can wear a person down, in the workplace and otherwise, and at home too. Sometimes at home, so even within families there are divided topics and issues. So it can wear us down to a point of, how do I overcome this challenge? And not to mention, but I guess I am mentioning it. I don't know why did they say that? Not to mention, and then they mention it. You ever notice that? That's rather bizarre. But many people go through losses. It could be a personal loss of a loved one. It could be a financial loss. It could be a marriage has dissolved. It could be any number of challenges. The fires out in California is burning people's homes down. I mean, what an incredible test of resilience there for many people. So we're always going to have these things in our life. You can't escape it. That's why they call it life. Apparently, life is also defined as you're going to have troubles. And so, but the cool thing is that you've got tools and techniques and everything to help people to overcome those challenges by exercising this thing called resilience.
Yes.
Right? So why don't you tell us more about that?
So let's first just talk about what resilience is, Jay. Resilience is the ability to keep moving through adversity. And a lot of people, or some people think, when they think of a certain person, well, that person is very resilient. And so they make it a characteristic that person has that other people don't have, or maybe that they believe they don't have themselves. And honestly, we all are resilient. We have all overcome something in our life, and probably more than one something. And here is where we're at today. And we bring with that, each experience that happens, we bring these tools of, okay, I was able to handle that then, or I handled that, I made it through that experience, and then here I am today. So if I made it through that, I'll be able to make it through this. That's one of the things that we can think about when we think about resilience, and that's a solid evidence-based fact. I made it through maybe the floods in a certain place or a certain time, or I made it through this illness that I didn't believe I was going to make it through, or I made it through financial hardship, and now here I am. And so now I know more, and I also know I can get through other things because I've gone through that. We actually need some some challenges to help us to build that resilience and to know what to do when we do have hardships come upon us. For a lot of years, we kind of raised our children to try to keep adversity from ever getting to them, and we know it's not possible. And in doing so, we actually incorporated some mindsets in them that held them back. They actually just believed, I'm good. That's why, I'm the best. That's why that I'm going to do well in life, because mommy and daddy said I'm the best. So they didn't develop some of the things, like a work ethic and like the adversity of not making first chair in band or not making the team. They didn't know how to handle that.
Yeah.
And when I was teaching, I saw a lot of those mindsets that believe they should already know something or already be the best at it. It did not help them to be successful. Thank goodness my students had a positive psychology practitioner that was also their instructor, and actually was able to give them a lot of tools of mindset change and how help them to be able to really adapt and move forward, and to use adversity to move forward. So
do you see, you mentioned about, kids a lot of times, being told they're great and everything, and because, do you see where that seems to be more prevalent as generations have come along, that we tend to bubble wrap, if you will, our children, because we think we had it bad. Every generation thinks they had it bad the generation before, right? And they think, okay, well, I had it bad, so I want to make sure my children don't have it so bad or so rough, and I want to give them things I never had. Do you think that maybe that has happened each and every time, because kind of a softening of our abilities to be resilient, because we don't have the exposures to the trouble? I mean, I look back on my life, I can look back and I can see where there were many things in my life that I had to overcome, many challenges. But like you said, though, we have proven evidence of, hey, I've experienced something, but I overcame that. I came out stronger on the other side of that, and not only stronger but wiser. I know some of the things I need to do to avoid that again. But even situations can change, but they can be relatable. So we still have tools. So, okay, I have this tool. It's kind of like if I'm working on my car or your car, which is almost never. but if I was, let's say in a utopian world, I actually worked on the car. I can take a wrench on a nut, right, and I can turn it one way to loosen it, or I could flip the wrench over and turn it the same direction, but I may have to do it because of the angle of where I need to get to. So I know I can turn it a certain direction, but sometimes I might need to adjust it. So I can't always do the same thing in every situation, but I can do some of the things I did before, right? So I want you to tell us, though, and I wish I would have let off with this. Tell us your experience. Tell us more about you and how you came about this experience that you have in positive psychology and resilience training, and all, how you came about that. And then the second thing I'd like you to tell them is why you think it's so important as well. And you've kind of touched on some of that, but where did you come from with this, and what inspired you? What inspired you?
I was in college, and I was also working with the military, and I was working on my degree in psychology. And I had all these amazing courses. I had abnormal psychology and social psychology and sociology of the family, and just every kind of psychology class that you could get. I was
a test subject.
He did say that when we started dating. Told him as a
longitudinal study.
Yes. So you've got a long time yet to be my studies.
Hope I'm passing.
But I'll never forget the day in a social psychology class when I heard the term post-traumatic growth.
Post-traumatic growth. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Hmm.
And the reason why that term stuck out at me is because I was working with the military and I was working with people who had multiple deployments. And when they came into the clinic, and I wasn't working in the field of psychology, I was working in dental. But as these service members came in, I heard time after time after time service members tell me, ma'am, I may have to, I may hit the floor. I just want you to know that I have PTSD. And so also, I noticed something besides just that repeated story from those repeated deployments. Some of these service members at that time had deployed 6 times and more than that. And so this wasn't a one-time deployment and a one experience of traumatic events. This was multiple deployments and multiple um, traumatic events that they had experienced. But I always felt so helpless when they told me this, because not only did they tell me that they had been diagnosed with PTSD, but I would watch the countenance change on these strong, brave service members that came in with their shoulders back and would sit in my chair.
Hmm.
And then as they told me they had PTSD, I would just watch them shrink. And I just watched a transformation that was really heartbreaking. And so I always wanted something to be able to help them, some way to help them, to give them hope, because that's what they were lacking. They did not have a belief that they were going to be able to have a productive life.
Hmm.
They really believed that this was something they were stuck with. So when I learned that term post-traumatic growth, which is growth that can come not in spite of, but because of a traumatic event, and that it shows up in a greater purpose or meaning in your life that you wouldn't have had you not experienced the event. Spirituality is another connection to post-traumatic growth. Deeper and greater relationships are another way. And then self-efficacy, like we talked about. I know I can because. Those are some of the ways that post-traumatic growth can show up. So, excuse me. I'll never forget the day that first service member came in after I had that tool of that little short little word, post-traumatic growth, and heard that same story again. And this time it was a drill sergeant.
Wow.
And so he sat in my chair and we were going over medical history, and that's when he shared that he had post-traumatic stress disorder and he had just got back from a deployment. And so I said, sir, have you ever heard of post-traumatic growth? And he said, no. And I said, I'd like you to look that up. I think that would be interesting to you if you would look that up, that you would find some benefits there for you. And he said, but can you tell me about it? And that was all I needed, right? I was waiting for that invitation to do that. And so I shared with him again those same things of how post-traumatic growth can show up in one's life. And we can have a greater connection to others because of that experience. I think we're all experiencing that today. We have that one bond that we're all going through together. And then we have that meaning in our life. What can we take from this experience? It's the story we tell ourselves. Our meaning is, what are we telling ourselves about what we've experienced? And so how does that show up? And then, of course, greater spirituality. I think that a lot of us are leaning to that, or maybe getting back to that today. And then gratitude. You know, what can we be grateful for? We may have experienced something hard, but we're still here. And so when I shared with him the way that post-traumatic growth can show up in some people, I'll never forget it. I mean, it was life-changing. It was that quick that this drill sergeant came back at me and said, I've got that. Ma'am, wow. I've got that.
Wow.
He said, and he just lit up.
Yeah.
You could just, I still get chills every time.
Oh, I'm getting chills. I've heard the story many times and I'm getting chills about that because it's
I wish I could tell you that I remembered his name, even though I wouldn't be able to tell you what his name was. I don't remember his name.
He was a drill sergeant?
He was a drill sergeant.
Okay, I can speak. His name is Drill Sergeant. That's it.
And he said, ma'am, he said, I was in a deployment and I had an IED attack.
Yeah.
And he said, because of that, he said, I can teach my young troops how to watch out and what to look for so that they can avoid that. And he just lit up. He had that meaning. He immediately attached meaning to his situation and was able to pull something from it. When before, just a couple minutes before, he didn't have that. He did not have that connection. Even though it was there, he didn't know it was possible because he had not heard that there was such a thing as post-traumatic growth.
Do you think that maybe it was because many times we can't identify something until we can put a name on it, right? Until we can put a name on it. We know that, like, if I have an issue going on physically, I don't know what's going on until I see a professional and they tell me, oh, Jay, you are suffering this or you had this. I'm just saying that's just, what's the word?
Generalizing?
Well, not generalizing, but theoretically or something like that. But if I was to see a doctor and they say, Jay, you have this, but, and by name, then was like this. I found I had a spot on my back several years ago. It was just a spot. I didn't know what it was until I went to the doctor. They checked it out and said they put a name on it. It was called melanoma. They removed that. So, okay, now I know what it is. Now I know what I need to do, right? And so it gives us a level of hope. So you think that post-traumatic growth, PTG, post-traumatic stress disorder keeps us held back, whereas post-traumatic growth helps to advance us forward because we put a name on something. And anytime we have a name on something, we can attach ourselves to it and be able to do something with that.
And I like how you said that. And when we think of post-traumatic stress disorder, that's a label.
It's a label. And
someone gives it to you, but do you have to pick it up and take it and wear it every day?
How many of us live by labels?
But post-traumatic growth, you said that's a name. So that's an awareness of a situation. That's a name, and you can identify with that, but it doesn't have the same level of, it has a more positive annotation, we get something good out of that. But that, when I saw the hope, that immediately, it wasn't like he had to go and think about it and read about it. It was that quick.
It was that aha moment. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah, we get that aha, suddenly the lights come on.
I thought, I have to know more about this. I was on a mission then.
Yeah.
I had my own mission, and my mission was to learn everything I could learn about post-traumatic growth, in which case I thought, hey, if we know how it shows up in some people, can we grow it?
Yeah.
I mean, if we know what it shows up, if we know that healthy, strong relationships are one of the ways that we can build it, and one of the ways it shows up, meaning what do we come out of something with that's better, that can help someone else? There's a lot of nonprofits, and there's a lot of devices that have helped people that have come from a traumatic event or even a death that happened. And someone thought, I don't want this to happen to another person. I think I've got a solution, or I have a solution to this problem. So a lot of really amazing things have happened due to a very bad situation. But can we take a bad situation and come out of it helping someone else, or come out of it even, better than we were before? We can.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm hooked on. And so after my degree in psychology, I was looking for everything I could find in positive psychology.
You were hungry, like Les Brown would say. You were hungry.
I sure was. And so I looked at several different programs and certificates in applied positive psychology, and went with the one from the Flourishing Center, Amelia Zavitelskaya. And I absolutely was thrilled with the information. I was eating that up. There was so much there. And then Amelia also created a certificate for certified resilience trainer.
Right.
And so then I wanted that too. Why? Because I wanted to help people. I wanted to have the tools to help people. It really was a lot. When I found the field of positive psychology, I kind of felt they built a science for me.
Yeah, yeah,
It was just for me. I get to share it with other people. A lot of other people shared it with me.
That's kind of your aha, because now you had a name for the label of the thing you were seeking out.
It really was.
Also, so we could attach to that.
I had been reframing for years, which is a great tool. And
you helped me a lot with that.
You know, how else can we look at this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can say something in a way that's going to bring negativity, or we can flip it and we can bring some positive.
I've seen how you do that with others, you know, with our kids, our family members, with me, with other people, and helping them to flip the story, flip the narrative, and create a different narrative, essentially making a 180 and redefining their situation. Because we look at something that's going on in our life and we define our life based upon that circumstance, not realizing that the circumstance has given us an opportunity to flip that around,
mm-hmm.
to change the framework of it,
mm-hmm.
right? And to move forward, you know.
We can stay stuck where we
get stuck.
Or we can move forward. And that is something we want to do with resilience. We want to be able to keep moving. And, you know, that we can bounce back to where we were prior to, or with post-traumatic growth, we can actually bolt forward. We can go further than we were before. And so that is a great passion of mine, as you know. And there are just so many tools, but as you said, as you pointed out, it goes back to our thinking patterns. It goes back to what we believe is a huge part of that. We all have beliefs. Our beliefs come from the things that people have told us and the things we tell ourselves, that we've told ourselves so many times that we believe they're true.
It becomes our truth. Exactly.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to be mindful of that, and we have to be mindful of, what are we saying? Is it really true?
Yeah.
What's the evidence of that?
Sometimes we have to go back and we have to ask ourselves the questions: is my belief really true?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of believing what others have taught us, or believing always our education and experiences, then we have to go back and evaluate that. And I think our beliefs about things in general can change
mm-hmm.
over time based on our place in life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I believe in love now more than ever, whereas once upon a time I didn't believe love existed, right? So place and time changes, situation and circumstance change. And so with that.
So there was some evidence though, right?
There was some evidence to look back. And that was that change in the framework too, of looking about what my experiences was. And I could have lived on forever in PTSD, right? Yeah, which, you know, that falls under that. Or I could learn from that and become something and someone better than that. And that is the growth process. How can I take that? It's kind of like if I burn toast, right? If I was to,
or if I burn toast.
Well, I was going to say I'm owning this one. If I was to burn toast, I can say, oh my gosh, I burnt the toast. Or I can look at it and say, hey, but I know a way to unburn it.
Right? I know what to do next time, right?
I know what to do next time. I also know that I can take that situation, that circumstance in that moment, and I can adjust it to where it is now to my benefit. I take a little knife, I scrape off the burning, and I put on a little peanut butter, and it's good to go, right? Mm-hmm. And so we can do that with circumstances that occur in our life. And folks, we are always going to have something show up in our world that's going to cause us to doubt ourselves, to question ourselves, to even question our future. The future is only what we make it. And when we realize and accept this truth, that life is not always going to be a bed of roses. It's not always going to be great. It's not going to be unicorns and lucky leprechauns or whatever. There's going to be those times. So when we learn about resilience, we can learn how to show up the next time these events occur, right? So it's preparing us.
Yes, and we can prepare for that.
Mm-hmm.
We can prepare for that. Like, like I was talking about, that we have to, what kind of evidence supports that thought? That's one of the tools we can use. So we take that thought to court. And
I love you did that that event one time, wearing the black robe and
yeah, the little gavel and everything,
take your thoughts to court.
So imagine that you're the judge of your thoughts. When that thought comes to you, is it useful? Is the thought useful? If it isn't, if it's holding you back, if it's not making you feel good, then let's examine that. Let's take it to court. Is there enough evidence to support that? And a lot of times, one of the tools that you can use with that kind of thought is, that's not true because, so if we get into an always or never kind of thought.
Oh, yeah.
I always fail. I'm always late. Have you ever been on time once in your life? Well, then that's not true, that you're always late. I'm never going to pass that test. I've never passed it. Yes, you have. You wouldn't be in 10th grade if you'd never passed a test or whatever it is. So we have some beliefs that we really feed into. The more we think a thought, the more embedded into our mind it is, the more often that thought is going to pop into our head.
What's that called?
Neuroplasticity. So I thought that neurons that that's cute. That's cute, isn't it? Can't remember. Neurons that fire together wire together. There we go.
Yeah, you were saying that last night.
Yeah, I was saying that. And just
I forget my name sometimes, so you're good.
But for us to know that means, and recognize that's huge, because that means when we have a negative thought or a non-productive thought, or that we need to not feed into that. We need to flip that quickly so that we can form a new neural pathway that is going to then be the go-to thought for us. One that's going to move us forward and help us to get where we need to be. We can plan for these because we all kind of have our things, our negative thoughts that pop up in certain situations. So I'm just going to put you on the spot here.
Oh, great. I'm on the spot. Okay. Run.
But you do very well and yeah, you're very quick. So if I told you that you were going to go to next year, be in Memphis for the
Elvis Week,
Ultimate Elvis competition. What are some of the things you might say to yourself?
Okay, if you were to tell me that, I would say, okay, one, I know I'm not near as good as half the guys that are there, right, that show up from around the world. Two, I would also look at the financial aspect of it, because it's not a cheap thing for these ETAs to do. That's not just including the travel aspects of it. So could I afford it? Do I need to lose weight to fit in that jumpsuit? So these are some of the things I would probably tell myself, that that not only that I'm not as good as half of them, I have fun with it. I love it and people love it. But I know that there's those out there that are much younger. So my age is a factor as well. Am I too old?
That's one I knew would come up, right?
Why? Why do you want to point out my age?
I know what some of your negative thoughts are.
Yeah.
And I also know, what would you tell someone else if they wanted to do something and their age was one of the things that was holding them back?
Well, I would tell them a lot of things, but I'll keep it legit here. I immediately go to the humorous side of things, but I would probably tell them seriously, though, that you're never too old to pursue a dream. Right. You're never too old to pursue a dream, regardless. In fact, we're seeing that more and more with these reality shows of these talents coming out and experiencing a dream they had many years ago. I talked to retirees getting ready to retire, and I said, well, what are you going to do now that you retire? And many of them give answers that any retiree would give, right? More golfing, more fishing, more time with grandkids, maybe do some gardening. And those things are all great. They're really great. But then I ask about, what about the purpose of your day-to-day journey? I mean, some people find great pleasure in just the leisure aspect. But then I said, what did you want to do 20 years ago, or when you were 20 years old, that you never pursued because life got in the way and you got a job? What did you want to do? And then I would tell them, well, then go do that. Well, they say, well, I'm too old to do that. I can't physically pole vault anymore. Okay, well, that's cool. I understand that. There are physical challenges and physical obstacles, but using a line that you always say and share, and I always share too with others, but I hear you say, what can you do? Well, if you can't actually do the physical aspects of it, can you mentor? Can you coach? Can you write? Can you teach?
Can you still sing?
Can you still sing? Pole vaulters don't need to sing. Okay.
And, you were saying that you were not as good as half as good as those people.
I'm not half as good as half those people.
Yeah, that.
No, but so I need to compete against the other half. Hey, I'm right there. I'm the half that makes the upper half possible.
You are very, very talented, and that evidence is everywhere. So, again, you're kind of telling yourself some stories that weren't true.
Exactly.
We also can kind of help ourselves by, if this happens, then that. So we can prepare ourselves for certain situations by, if this, then that. We can use that tool also if we are trying to achieve a goal. So say I wanted to lose 20 pounds. And I know that I like peanut M&Ms that are in the gift shop at work.
Oh, and they have the varieties now.
Yeah, the peanut butter M&Ms. Yeah, they kind of became maybe a best friend of mine.
Best friend. We all need a best friend.
But
mine's popcorn.
If I wanted to be able to not choose those, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then if I go into the gift shop, do I stay away from where the peanut butter M&Ms are? Or can I avoid the gift shop altogether, and then I don't even have the peanut M&Ms are not a factor for me? If this happens, what can I do?
So you're altering your normal behavior.
Can I bring some healthy grapes to eat instead? And then if I'm full, I won't eat the peanut butter M&Ms. So what does it
take to do that, though?
It takes preparation, and we have to prepare.
Discipline.
Yeah, it does. But we can prepare for different things that are happening in our life. We can prepare our thoughts. The more we practice these tools of that's not true because, and we have to have that evidence, so what backs that up? What facts back that up? Have you ever succeeded in an area? If you're going to, I never, or I always do this. Has there ever been a time you didn't do that and have been successful? Those are evidence-based. And then reframing a more positive way, or a better way of seeing that is, or another way of looking at that is. So maybe I did fail that test. And these are things you can use with your kids, right? Because they're all heading back to school, and maybe they're a little anxious because of the fact that they've been homeschooled a lot, and they maybe don't feel they feel excited maybe to go back to school. Maybe they feel a little fearful to go back to school, but maybe they're concerned about, how well am I going to do?
Mm-hmm. I could see that being a real thing too, because
probably more than
last year, many of them they were at home. They didn't go to school for a whole year, and they're talking about a second year of no school. The kids, and then be able to get back in there. I mean, the excitement of the social aspect, which our kids need, but then the anxiety of the actual academics, that's going to be a problem. Because let's face it, unless mom and dad is a teacher, and yeah. Chances are they don't teach that subject or teach that grade normally, so they've got a big learning curve to do too. So there's a lot of things with the kids that are anxiety inducing, and and that does hold them back. But go ahead.
But so we can look at things and think of, how else, what can I do to prepare for that? Or another way of seeing that is that, okay, maybe I didn't do so great on that test, but what can I do about that? Did I study as well as I should have or could have? Maybe I need to ask a friend that's really good at this subject, not to do it for me, but can I ask them for some tools? Because I remember a college math class that I took, and I can remember wanting to do so well in that class. And here I had all these high level psychology classes that I was just acing, and sociology classes, and this math class, I'm like, I'm taking notes and I'm trying, and this instructor, he is writing the board full of
equations and
yes,
things like that, formulas.
And so I'm writing, I'm trying to keep up with them, and then I look and he's just erased the whole entire board.
Oh, I hate when they did that.
And he says, oh, well, that was a way to do it, but don't do it that way.
Well, that was a time waster.
It was. And I'm like, okay, I've just tried to take all these notes, and that's not helpful to me. And the girl sitting beside me goes, let me show you this. And quickly showed me a way to come up with the answer that didn't take a whole board and was easy, and gave me step-by-step instructions how to do that. So what did I learn? I learned I had a better teacher sitting beside me than I had up there teaching the class that worked for me,
Isn't that the truth? I mean, I know I experienced that in my years in school, as well as sometimes it wasn't the instructor or the teacher that had the greater way of communicating a lesson than it was one of my peers who grasped it, because they understood the concept. Because sometimes, and we're teachers, we teach and train, and I've been an instructor, you've been a college teacher and things, but there's always techniques sometimes that we can learn that isn't what's dictated by the curriculum, and so that is evidence that sometimes there are other ways to get to the end result. And sometimes in resilience, what works with one may not work with another.
So good. That is so
good. Right?
It is very good, because as we have these different tools that I was telling you about, and we didn't practice that either. He's just that good. But as we have these different tools, and the more you practice them, that's not true because statements, or a better way of seeing that is, or another way of looking at that is, hey, maybe I need to study a little bit more. That can help us. That could be, or, what is the positive in there? That reframing. Okay, because that I didn't do as well on that test as I anticipated doing, I now can study more. I see the need for it more than I did before. And in doing so, I know I can do better next time because of that, because I honestly didn't put the effort in that I should have put. But, and then if this happens, if X happens, then I will Y, So what is it that is your trap, that if you plan ahead for it, you can find a way out? So these are ways to get out of thinking traps. And as you practice these, because that's what I suggest that you do, is to practice these techniques, you kind of see which one seems to be your go-to. I think out of all of these, probably reframing is my go-to. Another way of looking at that is, I have a way of doing that. That's kind of a big thing for me. So I thought that was so cool. Like I said, when I found positive psychology, I'm like, oh, this is a whole thing. So science.
Reframing is a really big part of becoming more resilient.
It can be.
Very big tool.
It is. And how it's going back to that thought process, what we think drives
behavior.
It drives our behaviors
and beliefs.
Right. Yes, it drives our beliefs, and then creates our mindsets, and our mindsets create our schemas, or our mental filing cabinet of what we believe is going to happen in certain situations. And so it's so important that we understand those steps and that we have the choice to think a different way. We have the choice to come up with these solutions of another way of thinking about a situation. And that then we can have a different kind of outcome.
I think it really is looking at evidence and stuff. It brings to mind an example of, somebody who develops a fear of flying, maybe based upon the fact that they experienced a a situation. Either they or somebody close to them experienced, say, an airplane crashing, right? They will forever believe that every airplane may crash, right?
And
When
statistically,
when statistically the evidence, the proof is
yeah.
that statistically, no, more aircraft stay up in the air and land safely than fall out of the sky. And and I love what I heard someone say one time, that every time a plane uh, comes down, somebody said something about it was uh, um, what was it? Planes learn to fall with grace when they're landing. They're falling. They're still falling, but they're doing it with grace, and they land greatly. But we have a tendency that when we have a situation happen in our life, a traumatic experience, we think that experience is always going to show up in every similar situation. Being a combat veteran, and I've seen some carnage in Iraq and Kuwait when I was there, that every time I get into a military vehicle and drive down a desert road, I'm going to believe that every person is either a terrorist and they mean harm for me and my troops, right? Um, and then my life's going to end. I can believe that. But the evidence is that the majority of the people that were there were excited to see us, thankful for us to be there, and did everything they could to support us, right? It's a small sect, small group. We have that in our country. We have a several groups of people that seem to be the loudest. And because of this, we think that everything is falling apart. Not everything's falling apart. It's just that where our attention, what was it John says, where our attention goes, energy flows. Where our focus goes, energy flows. And so if we are focused on the negatives, then the negative is exactly what you will want to attract and you will experience. So an experience that we've had that creates a PTSD scenario can be turned by the reframing aspect of it, thinking, is this true?
So true. You have to judge that thought.
And
Does this situation? You have to realize, where did that all come from? Like you said, when I spoke with the police departments, and I did some training with the local police department and fire departments, and I brought some of this training in, and I talk about mental schemas, and I always bring up a mental schema of the movie theater.
Yeah.
And so with that, I know what's going to happen when we go to the movies.
I love this story. Yep.
And so when we go to the movies, when we go to the movies, I know we're going to get popcorn.
You know that.
We're going to get a big
we might miss the movie, but we're going to make sure to get the popcorn.
And that popcorn, you are going to doctor that popcorn up. It is going to be the best buttered and seasoned popcorn there is. I know that. And then the other thing I know is going to happen, I'm going to get a great big Diet Coke. I love Diet Coke. I love Diet Coke as much as you love popcorn. And my honey loves some popcorn. And so I've often said, even back from when we were dating, that I might have to replace my perfume with some popcorn butter. That's how much my husband loves. But that is what we think about. That's what I think about when I think about the movies. I'm not thinking about the other movies that we've watched so much. I know these things are going to happen when we go to the movies. That's what I think about.
Certainty.
It is. It's a mental schema. In my mind, I've already got it figured out. I don't have to think about it. Just like if I get up in the morning, I don't have to think about every day how to brush my teeth. Of course, 24 years in dentistry kind of help with that too. But I know how to do that automatically. I don't have to think about it. We don't have to think about how to walk across the room. Those are mental schemas that are just filed away for us. Those are very useful that I don't have to get up every day and have to figure out how to walk across the room or to brush my teeth. It's even kind of fun to think about, to know what's going to happen at the movies and not have to be like, ooh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? But as you talked about, there's those other scenarios where mental schemas cannot be as beneficial for us, because maybe for a police officer, they may base a situation on a previous experience with a different offender, a different scenario, but there's enough likeness there that they have to watch that they don't make that judgment based on something that doesn't belong here. We can do that in relationships too.
I was just going to say that.
That when this happens, it's a trigger for me that reminds me of someone else, another situation, or something maybe that same person did to you another time, but it's not here, it's not right now.
And it's not this person.
And it's not this person, or even if it was that person did it
years ago.
Right here, right now. What do I have? So we have to be able to understand that those mental schemas pop up for us. Sometimes they're useful, sometimes they're not as useful. And thoughts are like that. They're automatic. We do not have to think about a thought. We can't just sit here and not have a thought. Right. I know men supposedly have a nothing box, but they're thinking about not having anything.
I'm sorry, I was in my nothing box for a moment. What'd you say?
But we can't not think a thought. And so the thing is, are you going to choose your thoughts? Or are you going to just let your thoughts be chosen for you?
Yeah.
And then what happens with that? When you get one thought, then another thought, then another thought, it's leading you down a path. Is it leading you in a productive and good place? Or is it leading you to fear, to anxiety, to,
our mind,
something that you don't want?
Our mind is a constant flow of imagery and information, and it's a constant flow. And so you're right, we can allow our lives like a boat, our thoughts are going through our mind, and we can just allow it to go untended, right? And let it follow the course that the mind will take it.
It's like popcorn.
Or we can take, not in the river because it's going to get soggy. Okay? Don't mess with my popcorn. Or we can get to that point, okay, I feel myself drifting here. I need to take the oar. And that's where we take control of our thoughts that lead us in a different direction. If we're in a river and we see that up ahead is a big waterfall, are we going to just sit in that boat and just ride it out? Unless you're Indiana Jones or The Rock, probably not. Okay? You're going to grab that oar and you're going to try to redirect that because you see what potentially could happen up ahead. But so many people are stuck without an oar. When the oar is there, it's a tool. It's never disappeared. Every thought has an oar, so you can redirect your actions. I speak with men, and with the Man Mastery Club, which this is also being broadcast on the Man Mastery Club and Academy page, as well as the YouTube channel. So when I'm speaking with men, I let them know that your thoughts will direct your actions.
Absolutely.
Your beliefs about those thoughts will direct your behaviors. If you don't like the behavior you foresee your beliefs leading you to, then guess what? Grab hold of the oar and redirect.
Not every thought is true. We know that. Mm-hmm. And I always have that analogy of the car, and your thoughts are the steering wheel. You need to take back that steering wheel.
Right.
And the fact that if someone carjacks, letting your thoughts take you anywhere they want to go. If someone carjacked you and you're still there in the car, your belief that you're going to get to your destination, that's not happening.
Yeah, you gave somebody else the wheel.
You need to take back that wheel. And then you can get yourself back on track because of, like we said, that neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
That the more you think a thought, that the deeper you get rutted in that thought. And so it's like a big pile of mud, and you've gone back and forth trying to get out of that. It just gets deeper and deeper.
That's why we have so many different beliefs about everything from faith, religion, finances, politics, the virus, all this. because we've allowed ourselves to believe something with the information we're attracting, it's called algorithms, that becomes our truth, and we believe that is the truth.
But the quicker you change those thoughts when they're not useful and you recognize them, and I think that's a big thing. It's that awareness. We have to be aware where our thoughts are going, and we have to get them back. Then we can get off of that trail, and we can form a new pathway, and that pathway can lead us somewhere good. We're not stuck, and that's what resilience is about. That being ability to keep moving through what life throws at us, and we have that ability. We've all been through things, so we are all resilient, and we don't have to think, or that if we do think, oh well, that person's resilient, but I'm not. I had a person that I knew once that I always felt like was one of the most resilient people that I knew. They had been through so many things, and yet they just kept going. And it was that belief that they had that they were going to make a better life for themselves, and that they were not going to allow this to stop them. That's what kept them going, was they didn't take an out. They kept going. They didn't make an excuse. They kept going. And I was always so proud of that person.
Sure.
And I really felt like they were just such a great example. And I kind of made them a mentor to others. I kind of set them up with this person as a mentor because of that their ability to keep going in spite of all the obstacles that life could throw at you. And we see that some people have just more things happen to them than others. But the fact is, we've all had things that we've had to overcome, and we're going to have more things to overcome. But we do have tools, and one of them is definitely being aware of our thoughts and then redirecting those to a more productive place.
So tell everybody about the programs that you have that you can help people. Maybe they personally need to overcome challenges, maybe help change their thinking process to a more productive future process. So the workshops that you have, the training you have, the what you can provide. If someone was to come to you and say, "Hey, our company is going through a big issue right now. Maybe I need you to come and talk to my people about, hey, we can win, but I need you to change your mindset. I need you to believe in the vision." What are some things you can do in an organizational level or even an individual level that people might be interested in to contact you?
Individually, I do have workshops, and I am certified to teach the Bounce Back Better resilience program that focuses on mental and physical, spiritual, and emotional, spiritual.
And another one. Hey, it happens. This
mental,
is live.
Emotional, physical, and spiritual. There we go. I got it. Maybe I had it the whole time.
Well, you did say 4 of them, so
that's it.
I think you did.
Aspects of resilience. And with that, I can teach those individually. I can also teach them all of those together, and not at one time. Those are very detailed programs. I can bring that into organizations. I also have the ability to bring in what I call 24/7 well-being.
417?
It's 417 well-being.
Okay.
Based on where we're at locally, but it gives us 24/7 ability to have access to tools that can help us. There is, and it's so reasonable for your organization. It's tools right in their hand in an app. It focuses on strengths. We focus on resilience tools. It allows us, there's even a little coach to help you along the way. And there's just so many aspects that I can bring the resilience program in and partner it with this app that can really help your people. But I have worked in the area with, like I said, police departments, fire departments.
First responders, military.
Yeah, military, a lot with the military. And But
You've
there's
worked with
not.
veterans at our local hospital,
Mhm.
the Wellness Warriors, you know, and shared some of this with them
I
too.
have, and I've also taught nurse educators
Mhm.
in hospital settings as well. But we all need tools of resilience. And organizationally, I don't know if there was ever a time that we needed it as much as we do right now. There are so many
I agree.
challenges. There, we are understaffed everywhere. Every organization is understaffed. So we have that burden on us. We have the pandemic on us. We have a lot of challenges, but there are ways to get through that. We've already learned some resilience, and being flexible is one of the keys to resilience as well. So how else can I think about that? You know, we have this, we don't have enough people. How else can we do this? How can we make this work? We've been for what, 16, 18 months now, we've been
Yeah.
working with that. So we understand some of that, but there's also some more guided ways that we can work through and help with that, those scenarios. But you can check out my LinkedIn to learn a little bit more about the 417 well-being tools that I have and how to reach me there. So reach out, and I would be happy to get back with you to see what we can work out.
Yeah, yeah, and her contact information is in the is in the notes, and I'll make sure to edit and update, or not edit, but update some things on there too. But we've got they can reach you on Facebook. They can reach you by email at Katrina at. In fact, I got it up here. Let me see. Let me post this up here. Oh, scroll, scroll. I gotta get rid of some of those banners. There we go. There. So she can got her phone number, got her email address. Also in the notes, got your LinkedIn link to it.
The link to my LinkedIn.
The link to your LinkedIn, and so I know that one, she's helped me through a lot of challenges. I mean, I was one of those person who believed that, you know, and was fearful of getting into another relationship when I met you because of my past experience, you know, and you know, is this person out to hurt me? Is this person out to you know, cause harm? And so trust was a really big issue for me to think about getting into another relationship, much less getting married. And but with her experiences and stuff, the way she communicated and things, you know, really helped me overcome those challenges, and still continues to do so in ways that helps me to look in people differently. You've helped me to be more open-minded, open-hearted, and open-handed. These things, and it's helping me to realize that, okay, how can we reframe? See, I didn't really think about reframing things until you really made it apparent to me that I can reframe or edit the story I'm telling myself. I can edit the story. And the truth is, and some of you may know my past experience, my childhood and things like that. The truth is, you don't have to remain in where you were. You can pull those tent pegs up, and you can head on down the road to greener pastures. But it's going to take work. It's going to take discipline. It's going to take the right tools and resources to realize that where you want to be, you can get there. Matter of fact, I want to encourage you to get there, because all the pains in the past that you've experienced is going to serve someone to be successful in their present. And that's going to help you with your significance and help you recover as well. When we help others, we help ourselves. So, sweetie, thank you so much for doing this with me today. I hope that we get to do a few more of these together. Mm-hmm. And I've always enjoyed when we did our Sunday morning Java with Jesus, Jay, and Katrina. So that might be something we might, you know, look at too. You know, I know we kind of tossed it around.
And I think, you know, there were some things that we were doing that we kind of gave ourselves a break from.
We did.
And
we need, because we were overwhelmed with so much going on.
Yeah, like a lot of you may be out there today, and you have to also give yourself permission to be human. So you also, and to do some self-care. What can you do? What can you back away from a little bit for maybe a little while, so that then when you come back, you're more equipped, you feel better, you're not overwhelmed with so much going on. So we don't need to stay in survival mode, but some of us have been there for a while. And then some of us have just been like, okay, I'm overextended myself. And I think one of the things that the pandemic has really helped people to do is to prioritize what's really important, what's important. And a lot of people have came out with that family and the relationships being that really important factor for them. So they've refocused some things. And that is a great tool of resilience right there, is that support system that you have in those relationships you have, and building those. We want to maintain those. And, that's really a passion of mine as well.
Absolutely.
So I think that we can move forward again and add value and do the things we're doing when we've got ourselves settled again. And that's where I feel like that things are getting better. And I think that I am feeling like I'm ready to tackle some of that again, that I step back from, because I really overextended myself.
We tend to do that.
And it was all things I love doing, but I had to kind of step back and take some self-care of myself and my mental health. And then I felt prepared again to step forward to help others.
I always say that we can be good at a lot of things or great at a few things, but above all that, we've got to be better to ourselves. We
need to be our own best friend.
We need to be our own best friend. But that's kind of hard to top you, though. You're kind of my best friend. So
yeah, you're fine too.
My bud. All right, friends. Well, thank you for being with us. Hey, we went a little more than 20 minutes, but that's okay. I think you gave some incredible value, and for everyone to consider, think about, and just look where you're at and look where you want to go, and see how do you reframe that. And if you're experiencing anything at all right now and you just feel kind of stuck and trapped there, and you just can't seem to get that momentum moving forward because you keep leaning back, I want you to reach out to Katrina and have that conversation with her. Listen, a phone call and email costs absolutely $0. Okay, so but it could mean the world to you to have that one conversation. So when it comes to post-traumatic growth and resilience, give Katrina a call or an email, or look her up, and she'll definitely serve you. That's her heart. That's what she's all about. She's 100% service to others. And so you won't go wrong. All right, my friends, God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for being with us today. And we'll see you next week, if not sooner. You just never know when the J's going to pop up like popcorn. Okay. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Be blessed.